Hey guys, this is the BULLS ICONIC EVO Wave 750 Bosch Smart System. So that denotes the LED remote, the Kiox 300, 750 watt-hour battery, and then the Bosch eBike Flow app. This is separate from the Bosch eBike Connect app, and a lot of the other batteries that are power tube, like 500, 625, they're not cross-compatible. It's a pretty cool system, though. I must say the app is great. It allows you to do GPS directions. It allows you to custom tune turbo and eco modes and kind of adjust how fast it accelerates or even your top speed. So I'm a fan, but even the charger is not cross-compatible. I want to get that out of the way just starting out. BULLS has done an excellent job with these iconic bikes, in my opinion. I love that it comes in a wave platform like this, so it's really approachable, low standover height, but they've reinforced it so you don't get the frame flex and stuff. They also have a traditional high step or diamond frame. It only comes in this metallic emerald color, but that looks nice with the black accents. You can see the fork down here. They've even got some stickers. This is an SR Suntour XCM. This is a spring fork, so it weighs a little bit more than an air fork, and it's still adjustable. That's nice that they give you some compression, lockout, adjust, and preload, but again, the weight, that's one of the compromises on this. The battery alone weighs about 9.4 pounds. Total, we weighed this bike, and it's about 64 pounds. Now, it does have these aluminum alloy fenders, 65 millimeter width. It's got this integrated rear rack that actually connects to the fender, so it adds a little bit of strength. And generally speaking, I like this platform because it's sort of a go anywhere, kind of a trekking, maybe a touring platform with this hybrid tread. But when you look at how close that fender is, and you start to think about, like, what if you put on knobby tires? They could kind of conflict, okay? So just keep that in mind. These are 27.5 by 2.45. They do have puncture resistance. They're e-bike rated up to 50K. You can see that down here. And they also have just a really nice, comfortable feel. It's quieter when I'm riding on like paved surfaces and stuff. It's efficient. It's not buzzing as much. But I actually climbed up this dirt hill just a minute ago. I was very impressed. I think that's a testament to the Bosch Performance Line CX Smart System motor. This thing offers up to 85 Newton meters of torque. It's measuring your rear wheel speed, your pedal cadence, and your pedal pressure dynamically, and it has shift detection. So let's say you're climbing and you need to shift down to that lowest gear, ease off a little bit so that you're not going to wreck the sprockets and, you know, bend the teeth or break the chain. I really like that. The motor is also much lighter than some of the older Bosch systems. It's a little bit quieter. Bosch is excellent. I mean, I really like their stuff. It does tend to cost a little bit more. This bike's $48.99, which is not bad. That's USD. For a bike that comes in all these different sizes and has a good Bosch 2-year comprehensive warranty plus 5 years on the frame, that's not too bad. So BULLS is sort of known for that, being able to offer high quality stuff, but at a little bit of a lower price. And it's just really feature complete. So coming back up front, this does have boost hub spacing, 110 millimeters, a little bit wider, gives you a sturdier spoke bracing angle, and a 15 millimeter through axle with quick release. We've got quick release in the rear as well, and there we go, 9 millimeter axle with a quick release skewer. I love that we've got an adjustable kickstand over here. Since this is, you know, we're kind of almost like mountain bike capable with the suspension fork and the rugged hybrid tires. But I think a lot of times I would see myself commuting with this, but then being able to take a dirt path like we have here. And I love the rack, just that this is so clean and tight, but also feels very sturdy. It's got pannier hangers right here, so you can clip right onto those. They're not separate from the top deck, and you do have a deck. You've got these supports down, so you could potentially have a trunk bag. You've got a little spring latch right here. On the side, we have what could be bungee loops, but also they'd keep the panniers from, you know, interfering, or the straps and stuff from touching your spokes. It seems like it was really well done, and again, reinforced by the mount on top of that fender. There is no weight rating on this. I'm guessing, you know, 40 pounds. It does stay fairly clear of that saddle, which is great because this is actually suspension, 40 millimeters of suspension travel built in, and then you also have a dropper. This is the Limo Tech 3, and here's the dropper post right here. I think it's neat to see something that is dynamic like this. It's really the first time I've seen something besides the older Limo Tech, which didn't seem to have as much travel, that it takes the edge off of a hardtail, right? We have suspension travel up front, and we also kind of have it in the rear. I felt like in the past I'd had to kind of choose between a suspension post or a dropper. And a dropper post is really good if, again, you're going off-road and you're taking some maybe big drops and you want to lower the saddle so you can use your legs like shock absorbers. I just really love this. I think this is great. However, it raises your minimum saddle height. So remember I said this is a step-through, very approachable frame. You're adding several inches. So if you wanted to, 30.9 millimeters, you could get yourself just a rigid post and you'd be able to lower that saddle all the way down, but then it would like permanently be all the way down. So keep that in mind. The two things that change in terms of hardware when you go between those 4 different frame sizes is the length of this seat post and also the stem. This is not the stock stem, it would be a little bit shorter. We've got this nice low-rise handlebar, fairly wide. I think it's 720 millimeters, so that's kind of that mountain bike setup. 31.8 millimeter clamp diameter, locking ergonomic grips, but it still includes a bell. Hydraulic disc brakes, 180 millimeters, and these may be Shimano or Tektro, as we see here. The 180 millimeter rotors give you a good mechanical advantage and good cooling properties. Dual piston calipers, which is like, yeah, you know, that gets the job done. I just think that's great. Hydraulic is a lot easier and more consistent to actuate with your hands. The cables, sometimes they bed in and get a little sticky over time. So hydraulic is totally the way to go with a heavier, more mountain bike capable platform like this. And they do have adjustable reach, so you can dial in this set screw here if you have smaller hands, you're a petite person with the smallest size frame. And I absolutely love that. And there's really a lot you can do with this platform, and I feel like they've already kind of done it. But look, there's even mounting points right here for like some other rack if you didn't want to use this one. Now again, because this interfaces with the rear fender, this all might kind of go together, but you could, you know, the platform set up that way. You even have bottle cage bosses here on the down tube, and I love that. A lot of electric bikes, they skip that. I feel like that's a decent place for it. It's not going to interfere with your standover height. It's reachable. You could use that with a folding lock or something if you wanted to, in addition to the trunk bag and everything that we talked about before. 165 millimeter crank arms, a little bit shorter. Seems like that might be the trend. It just keeps your pedal strokes a little tighter so you're not flying off the pedals, but it also raises the pedal a bit so you don't get those ground strikes. And again, this is sort of a mountain bike platform, so if you turn really hard or you have like a log or something, that's just gonna raise it slightly. These pedals, there's sort of this composite plastic with rubber grip. Welgo, it's a good brand. I might swap these out if I was actually doing mountain biking with like the Welgo BMX ones that have the pins, adjustable height pins, or just something a little wider and stiffer. Before we go back over to the drivetrain side, I want to call out this magnet right here. The rear wheel speed sensor is actually tucked in back here, and that magnet passes by. In the past, we used to have like a spoke magnet, and it could get bumped out of place, it would get dirtier, so I'm really glad that they've kind of upgraded this. I also appreciate that up front we have 14 gauge spokes, and in the rear we have 13, so these are a little thicker, a little sturdier, might help to support a load on that rear rack. So this is a 10-speed, and it's got a fairly wide cassette, 11 to 42 teeth back here, Shimano Dior derailleur, looks like a long cage, with a little clutch, so you can tighten this up a little bit if you are going off-road, and that'll help you, you know, keep the chain on track, but also reduce chain slap, so noise and then just impacts on your chain. I like that they have this clear plastic sticker though, in case you do have some interactions, it's not going to chip that paint. And when it's time to change a flat or true your wheel or something, you can just disengage that and it makes it a lot easier to work with. It's just not quite as tight. Up here we have a 38 tooth steel chainring, narrow wide, so it really locks onto that chain, keeps it from derailing and bouncing off. And we've also got a plastic guard here. Okay, it's not aluminum alloy, it's not quite as tough, but it keeps it a little lighter, and it is going to protect your pant leg or dress from directly touching the top of the chain, and it protects it from this side from falling off. So I really appreciate that. Up here at the trigger shifters, we have a two-way, this is Shimano Dio part, so you can use your thumb or your index finger up here to shift into higher gears, and then lower gears you can do multi-shift up to 3, which is wonderful. I really like this part. I'm a big fan. I'm glad they went with that. And then just walking around the bike again, internally routed cables. It's very clean. The bike just looks nice, and you know, it's fairly stiff. It's high performance. This is a class 1 electric bike, so it's going to be allowed on more trails and stuff. Bulls does have some class 3 products, which are great for commuting. You ride a little faster, but then a lot of times you're only allowed on the side of the road in like a bike lane or private property or something like that. So class 1 totally makes sense here. And I should mention, we were talking about the crank arms being a little bit shorter. this motor does support over 120 RPM pedal cadence. Sometimes with the older motors or cheaper stuff, when you pedal really fast, the motor itself can't keep up, so you lose that support. And right when you might need it the most, like you're going into a big hill, you downshift, and then the motor kind of fades out on you. I love that that's not the case here. So I'm back at the lot and just want to talk about the charger here. These things are really great. This is specifically for the smart system, so it has a different interface than the traditional Bosch charger, but it's still 4 amps, only weighs like 1.6 pounds. It's got a removable wall side plug. It's pretty compact and it just works great. I think, in fact, that plug interface, by having the separate blades and everything, if you were to bump it out of place, it feels sturdier than some of the other chargers I've seen. And I like that BULLS has the charging port up high on the frame, so you don't have to bend way down here. It's not going to collide with that crank arm. It's not going to get as dirty or wet. So that's nice. It is on the left side of the bike, and you see the kickstand, so the bike's sort of leaning towards you. But again, fairly accessible. You could charge the battery on or off the frame, which is nice. Ideally, you want to keep these batteries in a cool, dry location and keep it at least 50% charged if you're not using it for a long period. With such a high capacity battery, I could see people not charging it after every ride, but again, leaving it in a super hot or super cold garage could kind of limit the number of full charge cycles you get, especially the heat. The cold is going to temporarily stunt your range, so you might not go quite as far. So wanted to go through removing it. Chris is going to help me here. First off, we've got this plastic shield, weighs about 0.4 pounds. You unlock it down there and remove it. Now, this thing doesn't actually lock to the frame the same way that the battery does. You can see over here, we've got this like locking cylinder. You have to use these keys, which are ABIS keys. They're key to like, so you could actually match that code and get like a folding lock and mount it right here or put it in your bag. So he's going to insert the key, go ahead and unlock this PowerTube 750 smart system. So even though it is a power tube, this frame and this system, they're not cross compatible with like the PowerTube 500 or 625. Here's the charging interface. There's the LED charge level indicator. So you don't have to put this on the bike to know how full it is. You could have this in your utility closet or something, charging up, and you've got everything you need. 9.4 pounds on this. Again, the bike is 64 pounds, so you know, it's a little bit heavier, but you think about the fenders, you got that rack, you got integrated lights, and they have to build it, you know, pretty sturdy to have this wave frame. You can see they've got a little cross member here to keep it rigid. So the final kind of recommendation here is when you're putting this back on the bike, so he's got it lined up, and then you bring it into this first point, you have to twist the key, and then there's actually 2 steps there. The first is like it kind of clicks so it won't fall out, and the second is like click and it's all the way in, and then you can pull the key out. So you just want to make sure you do that correctly, use 2 hands, and for me that's one of the trade-offs. At the very end, you've got that shield. Don't forget the shield. You put it into place, line it up, and Chris was saying you make sure you push down on that little lever so that that doesn't fall off and you don't lose it. Thankfully, it's just black plastic. You know, I think they use the same shield on many of their bikes, so replacement shouldn't be too difficult. But those are some of the little trade-offs, and I think they, you know, I see them with most of the smart system bikes. So, yeah. I think the next thing I wanted to go over was the display, and I was asking for your help because you got the mobile app and stuff. Yep. It's fairly bright out here, so this is sort of real world scenario, but you might not be able to see everything. I have separate videos, and Bosch has videos all about their smart system display. This is the Kiox 300, and one thing I like about it is you push down on the top, you can actually remove this. Okay,
great for safety feature if you park it outside, and
yeah,
you know, it can't be stolen if it's in your pocket.
Just put this in your own pocket and your bike is sort of disabled. Bosch has with the smart system in the app, the eBike Flow app, they have this like proximity locking thing too. Okay, so you like walk away from your bike and it automatically like disables all the electronics, right?
Yeah, there's one built in to the app, and then you can buy a second add-on module that adds even more security.
That's awesome.
They're definitely taking care of their urban commuters with this new Bosch smart system.
It's good technology.
Yeah, it is.
So the Kiox 300 right here, color backlit display. And then over here we have the LED remote. I want to mention something. There's a little USB-C port on the bottom, but that's really only for diagnostics. I mention it because BULLS has like a little interface for a phone, right? So you could potentially, yeah, what do you call that?
This is SP Connect. It's a partner brand. It'll come standard on all of our mountain bikes, but you can add it onto any traditional stem as well.
Well, that's great. Yeah, this one you've already got the Bosch Kiox 300, but you know, the phone app gives you a lot of cool cool options, including GPS. And the reason I mention this USB-C is like, I kind of wish I could charge my phone while riding and using it for a display, and it's just not set up that way. You know, high capacity battery, you just get to use that for riding. And because this is the CX motor, it is going to use more power. It's a little more power hungry than some of the, you know, touring, lower level motors from Bosch. So back to this LED remote, we've got plus, minus, there's like a walk mode indicator there, so if you hold that down and then you have to actively move the bike, it starts to assist you. You hold plus, it activates the lights, and I do love the integrated lights. The positioning of this headlight is decent. It's high enough to clear the front fender, but it is gonna, it's unsprung, right? So it's down here on the lowers of the suspension versus up here on the frame. Could bounce around a bit, but yeah, it's fairly visible. It has side cutouts, and then we have the Supernova, I think this is the E3, 3 LEDs on the back, and it should be fairly clear of your panniers and trunk bag, but keep an eye on that so it doesn't get blocked. Again, reflective sidewall stripes, I love that. Sorry to jump around so much, but these systems are really great how they're all integrated. Power button at the top, light sensor here for activating the lights automatically, left, right, and you can really, you know, you can do a lot without the phone app. So just getting into this display again, this is color coded, so you sort of know what level of assist you're in. And there are a lot of bikes in the BULLS lineup that don't even have the Kiox 300, the mountain bikes. You can use this remote for everything you need. So I'm gonna accept that. The risk statement, I can arrow up here and say, okay, Eco is green. And then we have Tour Plus, blue, EMTB, purple, and this is sort of the dynamic, like set it and forget it mode, where it's really looking at your pedal torque a little bit more and weighing that more heavily. And then turbo at the top in red. You can navigate left and right through a whole bunch of different displays where it talks about your distance ridden, your speed, your ride time, your estimated range, which is really cool because it dynamically updates based on your last mile of riding or so, and the battery capacity. Smartphone, it even says your smartphone capacity, man, that's cool. Yep. And let's see, power, cadence is really cool, elevation, ascent. So it's a very in-depth display. It even has settings so you can change the units and stuff. So that's that. Let's talk about this smartphone app. Is pretty cool. What are the main benefits of this?
A lot of user integration. So you've got connectivity with apps like Strava or Commute, so you can automatically sync rides and get rider details from there. Like we mentioned before, there's the lock system that's Bluetooth related. It basically creates a geofence around the bike, and when you walk away and Bluetooth is broken, the battery or the motor won't turn on until you come back. So it also has just a lot of easier to operate things like maps. You can fine tune a few of the different support levels as well, which is great if you like racing, racing in an EMTB.
Or taking it the other way, we're looking at the step-thru. Let's say you want to turn down the top speed, you can.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Much more efficient riding that way, for sure. So lots of tunability. The
two modes that he's talking about tuning, I think it's turbo and eco, and those ones allow you to do a lot of cool stuff. So assistance, dynamic, so that's like how quickly this thing goes off the line, your max speed and max torque. And again, max torque on the bike is 85 Newton meters by default. So you could tune this to be more energy efficient is what I'm
getting at. Yeah, especially if you're going for a weekend or longer tour, you can really keep the battery in reserve and just use it when you need it.
Fantastic, man. You've heard me, kind of been in the background. The cockpit on this is pretty clean considering you got a dropper, you got your buttons, they're all fairly reachable, your shifters, the bell.
Yep.
As a whole, I think the bike could serve a lot of purposes. Is there anything you feel like I missed or that you just want to call out about this while we're looking at it?
No, it's a great all-around town bike. You can take it on light dirt trails like we're at right now. You might want to add some knobbies if you want to go a little bit further.
You have a ton of dealers.
Yeah, over 200 in the US.
And it's a German brand, right?
Correct, yeah. We've been in the US since around 2015. We're one of the original mid-drive motor e-bike companies.
For me, that's cool to see a company that's been around. They do good customer service, and if you can buy this at like a shop, you're gonna get help with fitting, test rides, and post-purchase support.
Absolutely. We're a huge fan of the local bike shop. We want you to be best served, and that comes through support at your local bike shop.
Perfect. So maybe it's time for a little test ride, yeah?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Such a beautiful day here. We're in Newport Beach, and this is the kind of terrain I think, you know, sort of simulating commuting or riding in a more urban environment here. The 27.5 tires give you a good combination of keeping the frame a little bit lower, allowing you to have higher volume tires. But they keep that attack angle a little bit lower. The bike feels very steady with those wider handlebars and everything. Keep in mind, we are in turbo, so the motor's a little bit louder here. I'm gonna take it down to eco. Really smooth braking, just one hand. Yeah. A lot less acceleration happening here. Still a little bit of noise. Let's do Tour Plus. So it's dynamic, sort of like EMTB. It's measuring how hard I push, and it's giving me more power automatically when I do that, but it's not quite as much power as EMTB. So let's go up to that EMTB. Yeah. There we go.
Okay.
Sweet. What's the bike you're on? This is the Iconic Evo.
Evo 2 Speed, so this is the
Sweet.
Class 3 version of the bike in a diamond frame.
And so Class 3, you can go a little faster?
Yep, up to 28 miles an hour.
It looks very similar. I mean, you got the same kind of rack and fenders and everything?
Yep, it's got an air sprung fork up front that's a little bit beefier, but very similar light setup, gearing, all that. So
we were talking earlier about just the names of these, and this is the Evo 2, and you said that that means it's kind of specced with higher grade components?
Correct. The Evo 1 comes with the Purion display and then a slightly lighter fork. And I believe the step down and Dior components.
Okay. Are they the same tires though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
I want to look at these a little bit closer. I'd mentioned it before. So CST Supero all ground 27.5 by, was it 2.45? Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Plus size tires, it's like 2.6, 2.83. So this isn't quite that big, but it's a little bigger. A lot of times you'll see like 2.2 or 2.25 for like mountain bike tires.
Yep.
It's a little bit more air volume, gives you some comfort, a little bit more float for the bigger bike. You can see the lights and everything here. Yeah. And if we look at this one, it's the Litro. Also SR Suntour?
Correct.
Yeah, black anodized stanchions, aluminum, a little bit lighter. Okay, cool. Nice to see the upgrade path. Like a mountain bike motor built into this, so it's kind of fun, but you get this little bit of a slicker tire and braking. I was skidding a little bit there. I might come around one more time. Right? It's got really good control. That was fun because I was at high speed and then I backed off. And I was still really steep, and I pedaled gently, even in a high gear, and the motor was able to smoothly take me up. That's the dynamic, like multi-sensor Bosch thing at work. So, I'm gonna race ya. That seatpost suspension is a pretty nice feature on the hardtail.
Definitely.
There we go. We got the lowrider situation going on here. Well guys, that's about it. That is the BULLS Iconic EVO 1 Wave. I've had a great time hanging out with Chris from BULLS. Hopefully answered all your questions. Back at the site, there's a comparison tool, so you could look at the other BULLS models or something that's compatible or comparable from other companies. Get some feedback in the comments, maybe the forums. My goal is to be thorough and objective. This is a free review. Love you, ride safe. See you next time.
Enjoy the ride.